What's happening, vinyl community? Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you guys are when you're watching this. I wanted to do this video as sort of a end of spring, beginning of summer collection update. I've gotten a lot of stuff this year already. Most of it's been featured in videos already. Some of it hasn't. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to just do sort of like a broad collection update and kind of share everything that I've gotten to this point and share a few new arrivals with you guys. And hopefully the rest of this year will be just as good because I've already picked up a few major grails that I didn't think I would get so soon. So it's been a really good year so far. But without further ado, let's get started. And I hope you enjoy going on this journey with me. You can see I've got a nice big stack here. The first one is actually one that I actually had acquired pretty early on in the year. I'd owned this album on CD a couple different times, but never thought to look for it on vinyl. Never really wasn't a big deal to me. And if you guys know anything about like early to mid 90s through like the early to mid 2000s, the CDs were still the dominant medium or media. And vinyl was sort of a niche thing. You'd mostly find it in Europe, or they would run like a special pressing for, collectors or fans of the band or whatever. So it wasn't as widespread as it is now. But so as a result of that, finding some of these albums on vinyl is really difficult, especially expensive or almost impossible. But found this one through a seller on Discogs. This is Thievery Corporation, the richest man in Babylon. Still has its original price sticker of $16.99 on it. Original pressing from 2002. And this album's really awesome because it's a nice, how would I put this? It's a very eclectic album. It's got some elements of reggae on it. It's got some Far Eastern influences. It's just an all-around great chill-out album. Not a very easy one to find on vinyl. It's kind of expensive. I've seen these, go north of $200, maybe a little bit more depending on where you're looking and condition. But found this through a seller in I believe it was New York, and it had been on there for a while. Gave him a offer, and he accepted it. Funny thing is that. And it wasn't his fault. It was the USPS's fault. God bless them. This started to make its way to me, and then it somehow got diverted to Puerto Rico and juggled around Puerto Rico for like 3 to 4 days before it got corrected. But got here, plays great. Love the album, and if you can find it, I know it's available on YouTube to stream. Definitely have a listen. It's definitely worth checking out. Really, really love this album. The next one is actually a find from a recent dig at Triple Play Records in Grand Junction. Trying to expand my collection out to more modern stuff, kind of base it, find a nice balance between older stuff and newer stuff. And found this one in the bins, and my dad is very much the same way. If he saw an interesting cover in the bin, he would just grab it just because of the cover art. I tend to be a little bit more that way, but I've been lucky so far. I'm sure there will be a couple duds down the line, but I've been lucky so far. But this is a Danger Mouse and Black Thought cheat codes. This is a limited edition pressing on red vinyl. Don't want to really take it out because these sleeves, I love them, but they're a pain in the butt. But it's a limited edition on red vinyl. It actually came with a CD of the album, which is pretty cool. Great album. Very interesting, to say the least. I figured with the Danger Mouse would be more, leaning towards the more of the hip hop stuff, but they have a lot of samples of older material and older music in there and stuff like that. Great album, cheap heat for and very easy to find. Like I said, this album's less than a couple years old, so. But definitely, if you see this in your local record shop, definitely pick this up and give it a listen. You will not be disappointed. Uh, this next one came in actually by way of my recent trip to North and South Carolina. Got to meet my buddy Chris at the Tunes from Man Cave for the second year in a row. Got to meet Josh, taking me to Birch, Dillon at Noble Records. These are all guys that are friends of mine and have become friends of mine through love of vinyl and love of music. But because we're multiple states over, it's kind of a pain in the ass to get there. So I generally try to base this around record store day. Well, everything was looking good, and then I got the date wrong. And I actually ended up showing up a week early, which next year we've corrected that. I've written down the proper date, and everything will be good there. But it was still a great trip, still had a lot of fun. And that Friday, Chris took me up to Papa Jazz in South Carolina, and they had recently bought a collection from a college professor who also reviewed albums for, I guess, as a hobby or something like that. He'd been collecting since the 50s. Stuff is immaculate condition, and they've been dropping them every Friday. And there were a couple albums on the Holy Moly wall, their Holy Moly wall. And there was some stuff for the bins, a couple Miles Davis that I was looking at. And I pulled a couple out, and Chris said, "You need to grab this one. You will not be disappointed." And I was not. It's a great album. This is a Prestige 7150. This is Miles Davis and Modern Jazz Giants, featuring Milt Jackson, Thelonious Monk, Percy Heath, Kenny Clark, John Coltrane, Red Garland, Paul Chambers, and Philly Joe Jones. This is an original pressing. Prestige Fireworks label. What was it? The Bergenfield, New Jersey label. This album is absolutely amazing. The Miles Davis stuff is something that I've been working my way into. I still want to pick up some of his essential ones, but there's so much heat out there for jazz, especially on things like Prestige, Impulse, Blue Note, that some of them have, and it's no, slide against this album or any of his other stuff, but there's other things I want to grab more. But, Chris recommended this album to me, and I sampled it on YouTube while I was on vacation, because I didn't have access to a turntable. Really loved it, and the only condition issue that you got is the professor, and you can probably see the very edge of it. I don't know if he's got little notes on the back of the albums, but at least some of them. But great copy, very clean copy, and I'm very happy to have this. This next one actually was one that had a funny story behind it as well. If you follow Dillon at Noble Records, he actually bought a pretty major collection out of Florida, and a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of jazz, just amazing stuff. And one of the albums that he actually brought in that Saturday to listen to was one that caught my attention. I knew it was kind of difficult to find. I didn't think I would find one anytime soon. Well, my local shop, which local's kind of a broad term, it's about an hour from me, actually had a copy of this album in their recent flip video. So I called them, said, "Can you hold it until I make it back? I'm on the other side of the country." I've been a loyal customer of theirs for quite a while, and they worked it out with me and paid for it. And when I got home that weekend, I went and picked it up, and it plays immaculately. This is a Little Beaver, Party Down. This is just a funky album. Original pressing on Cat Records. Outside of a little bit of a wear along the edges of the jacket. Beautiful example. Plays beautifully. Next to no crackle whatsoever. And a lot of that's just dust. But great album. It's been reissued quite a few times, at least a few times to my knowledge, so definitely pick up a reissue if you can. Or if you look into an original, definitely grab it. Got a really good price on this, and very happy to have it. So, when the vinyl got smile on you, they smile on you. So while I was in Charlotte, I stopped by Lunchbox Records, and when I was digging, I found a 2006 European reissue of this album, and it's a must-have. It's on so many hip-hop lists. It's a very influential album, and I decided I wanted an OG. Well, I looked into seller that had an OG at a really good price. So I ended up giving the reissue to a friend of mine while I was there, and the original was waiting for me when I got home. This is Nas Domatic. This is an original European press from 1994. Plays beautifully. Such an amazing album, and I'm very curious about this because it's it's European pressing, but it's got a Columbia sticker on it. It's got, looks like Mandarin characters on it. So it's probably was from overseas originally before it made its way to Europe, but it plays beautifully. Again, it's an iconic album. It's been reissued so many times. The 90s was definitely the time for hip hop. I don't care for much of the new stuff. I think it's a lot of it's garbage. This tends to be the area that I stick with, and this is one of the few hip hop albums I have. I plan on changing that, mostly focusing on the All Killer No Filler, but iconic album and an absolute must-have. This next one's actually a recent acquisition. I have wanted this album on vinyl for quite a long time. During the COVID pandemic, everything was more expensive. All the free money was being tossed around, and people were buying up collectibles left and right. So I just waited. I figured one would come to me at the right time, and it did. This is White Zombie, Astro Creep 2000. Again, sorry for the glare, guys. It's an original pressing on Geffen Records. This is actually the limited edition blue vinyl that came out that year. Plays absolutely beautifully. Got a smoking deal on this through a seller on eBay. And this is definitely to me, this is definitely the White Zombie album to have. It's the most commercial anyway. The early stuff tends to be more experimental, very thrash, so it's not for everybody. But this is definitely the one to have. And it's an iconic album. Whether you're a metal fan or just a fan of 90s music, this is definitely the one to have. So very happy to have this. This next one came in by way of a seller out of Europe. Again, 90s album, difficult to find on vinyl, and as an original, especially in the States. Found a seller out of Belgium who had an immaculate copy, and we worked a deal, and it arrived a few weeks later. This is a Portishead dummy. This is a original pressing from '94. Again, beautiful condition. I actually took this album with me to Charlotte to tease Dillon with, and along with one other album. And the more people I showed this to, the more people were actually amazed at the condition and the fact it was an original, which that says a lot because the other album I brought was pretty amazing too. But again, Portishead is definitely one of those bands that they're hit and miss for some people. They tend to be more trip hop and more melodic in their sound. So not exactly commercial, but I absolutely love them. And this is the must-have from this band. And again, absolutely love this album. And very happy, very, very happy to have this. This one's not leaving my collection. If I have to sell again, there's a few albums that are not leaving my collection, but this is definitely one of them. Very happy to acquire this year. Next one is actually one I found just randomly sampling music on YouTube. This is Visions by Meteor. It's more electronic. With this jacket, with this cover, you wouldn't think this would be an electronic album, but it is. Very limited production. I believe this came out in 2022. Found this through a seller out of Hawaii, and arrived perfect shape. And again, electronic music's not for everybody, but again, it's a nice addition to my collection. This video is going to be long, guys. It's a lot of new albums. This actually was one I missed out on Record Store Day, and there's a few dealers that I follow that they will release their remaining inventory to the public online the next day. And the In-Groove out of Phoenix did that, and so I was able to get the big one, or one of the big ones, for the drop, which was Taylor Swift, Folklore, the Long Pond Studio Sessions. This album is basically folklore. This is all solo sessions done during COVID. I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan. I don't hate her, but I'm not a big fan of her music. It's a little too commercial for me. But I love this album. I always appreciate a good album, whatever it is. And the songwriting on this it's an amazing. Folklore is an amazing album. So this was a nice companion piece. And considering the fact that there was 80,000 copies of it produced, the fact that they were selling for over $100, not the next day, is absolutely insane. But that's the world of the internet. Continuing on the record store day train for a minute, I actually found this through Triple Play. This was another one that I didn't think I'd find because it was really limited, but it was sitting on the wall. This is Garbage, Witness to Your Love. This is the the 12-inch that they released for RSD. You can see that there, Red Wax. It's got a few of their songs from their newest album, plus a cover, Susie and the Banshees, Cities and Dust, which really does a decent job. It's not exactly a straight cover, but they do a good job with it. So, surprised to see this on the wall, and I grabbed it the second I saw it. Next one, there's a few of these. Dillon Noble Records has actually started to do his own label, doing special releases of hard-to-find albums from the past. Some of them are in the 300 print run, some of them are in the 1,000 print run, and they sell out really fast. So I get them when I can. This is Sudden Death from 1972 on Noble Orange Wax. Basically, long start of this is the label was looking for a band that sounds like Black Sabbath, and these guys fit the bill. For the people that watch this who get offended, it is what it is. But I'll be honest, I can take or leave this album, but it's still a cool addition in the collection. Just an interesting piece of history, and I love the album cover. But just hard rock, just early 70s hard rock. Sounds great, but I don't think it fits the bill as being a Black Sabbath clone, but still good. Next one, I'm going to have to try to cover the front of it a little bit. This is Death Grips, the Money Store. This is a reissue that I found at Triple Play again, and it's kind of a mix. It's a little bit of trip hop, a little bit of electronic, a little bit of hip hop. It's not for everybody, but I sampled it on YouTube because I saw the jacket and it interested me. So I gave it a shot, liked it, and picked it up. So happy with this reissue. These next two are the same thing. Again, this was the other thing for Record Store Day that I was trying to get. There were limited numbers for it because I guess they got shipped late, so not everybody got them, but I was able to acquire 2 copies and didn't have to pay out the ass for them. This is Cranberries, Wake Up and Smell the Coffee, on the translucent wax. One's sealed, one's opened, and that's going to be the plan. Just keep one sealed, and listen to the other one. This album was never released on vinyl, at least officially, up until Record Store Day. So again, I'm a huge Cranberries fan, very happy to have it. Again, sorry for the glare. And I will say one thing about the album itself. It may just be the one copy that I opened, but it's got a little bit of hiss on the high end. It may just have been the pressing itself. I don't know. Maybe if any of you guys have this particular release, you guys can chime in below. But I'm very happy to have it. To me, Cranberries is one of my favorite bands growing up, and sadly, Dolores passed a few years ago. But their music lives on. So again, very happy to have this. Another release from the Noble reissue catalog. Dylan's talked about this album so many times, and he lucked into a OG, I think either early this year or late last year. But he got it reissued on Sun Yellow transparent vinyl. I think this is the third pressing of this. It's Farm. Very difficult to find. Indie released originally, and very expensive. Goes for over $1,000 when you find it. It's the thing about those private labels. Private label releases, they're just not easy to find, and they can be very expensive. But so the reissue will do me, and again, solid, just hard rock. This one actually I ordered fall of last year, and it didn't arrive until a few weeks ago, which is unfortunately the nature of this particular company, but they do an amazing job. This is the Werewolf Finite soundtrack by Michael Giacchino on Mondo, through Mondo, excuse me, on Hollywood Records. Multicolored wax. Mondo does a really good job with their art and their presentation. And typically these don't stay in print very long. So, you know, I'd watched the one shot from Disney on this through alternate means because I don't have Disney Plus, but really liked it and really loved the music. Just the score itself, but sounds great, and nice little bit of difference to my collection. So again, great little addition. This one I actually found on my first dig at Noble the week I was in Charlotte, and I was very shocked to see this. This is Oasis, Dig Out Your Soul. This is an original 2008 UK first press, just randomly sitting in a bin in Matthews, North Carolina, and great price. Dillon's always really fair with his prices, and took me less than 20 seconds to pick this up and said, "Yep, I want this," and it's in my top 3 favorite Oasis albums. So again, another great addition to my collection. I'm very happy to have it. Found this one that Saturday when me, Chris, and Josh went out. We ended up going to Hardy Boy Records. He did a jazz drop, and there's some stuff in there that I wanted, but the condition wasn't great. But I found this in the Just Ends and couldn't leave without it. This is Al Green, Let's Stay Together. High Records, original stereo press. Few marks on it, but sounds great. No issues at all. Reverend Al is a must-have in anybody's collection, whether you're a soul collector or you just appreciate music. Must-have, and this is an iconic album. Found this at a return trip to Papa Jazz on my last day before I flew out. For the low price of $8, which is pretty amazing. This is Byrd, Blackbird on Blue Note. It's the original pressing. Squeaky clean. They have this marked as a VG. This thing is almost near mint. It plays without a lick of noise and sounds absolutely amazing. This was actually one of the albums that I believe saved Blue Note for a little bit longer, commercial-wise, because the thing about jazz for some is that jazz, for the people that love it, is it's iconic, but it's not. Jazz is not always commercial. So this is one of those that was more funky, and it was a big release for them. But happy to have an original and in beautiful condition. This album I actually previously owned, and I sold it like a dumbass. So I decided I wanted another one, and while the wax is not as clean as my first copy, the jacket is immaculate. This is a Impulse 9160. This is Elvin Jones and Richard Davis Heavy Sounds, first pressing on Impulse, red and black. I call it the clock label, but I know there's another name for it. Iconic, late 60s album on the Impulse label. Raunchy Rita is the standout track on this. The side B almost reminds me of a rehearsal that they just decided to tape, but side A is where the money's at. But great album, kind of difficult to find an OG of. It's been reissued quite a few times, so you shouldn't have difficulty finding a reissue. This next one I'm going to save to the very end because it goes with the album that I just put over there. This one actually was a grail I acquired very early on in 2023. It's been reissued quite a few times. There's a few pirated copies out there, so you have to be careful. But this is a 100% original first UK press of Gorillaz Demon days. Again, I think this is their must own from their whole catalog. Their later stuff tends to be hit or miss for people, but this is their best album, I think, and their most commercial. I'm very happy to have this. It originally did have the parental advisory sticker on there. You can still see some of the residue, but at some point in its life it came off. But original pressing came from a very reliable dealer that I deal with on occasion. Mostly sells a lot of the rarer and more uncommon stuff. Excuse me. But, you know, very welcomed addition to my collection, and I play this quite regularly. This is actually one of the newer editions. I actually got this the last week. With Impulse Records, there's some iconic releases, and then there's a lot of fluff. But this is one of the must-have. It's actually a surprisingly difficult one to find an OG of, but found a nice clean copy. This is Impulse A91, Sonny Rollins on Impulse. Original pressing. Sounds absolutely amazing. I played this yesterday. If you guys follow me on my Instagram, TreeMcGee814, I was doing a tutorial video on how to clean up album jackets. This was actually playing in the background. Sonny did 3 albums for Impulse. The Alfie soundtrack with Michael Caine, and I believe it's called On Broadway or something like that. All 3 albums were must-haves, but I think this is the standout. Three little words is one of my favorite tracks. This is actually one of my favorite jazz albums of all time. I absolutely love it, and I'm thrilled to finally get an original. This one actually came in during my trip through Lunchbox. You know, been wanting to pick up a copy on vinyl. This is Gorillaz Cracker Island. This is their most recent release. Again, not for everybody, but I liked it, and not much to say about it. Just, you know, again, happy to have it on vinyl, and that's all there is to say. This one I hope to have an OG of at one point, but for now the reissue will do me just fine. This is the Mod Jamal Trio, The Awakening. Solid reissue. This is one I actually picked up from Dillon Noble Records while I was there. Again, originals tend to be kind of expensive, but I will own an original at some point, hopefully by the end of this year. I'll do an update at the end of the year, and I'll have an OG to go with the reissue. So we'll see what happens, but for now, this reissue will do me just fine. It sounds absolutely great. Two more, and then one final grail before I sign off. This one was actually one I'd say probably my best find of the trip. Found this through Poet's Vault in Charlotte. He generally deals with a lot of newer stuff, but sometimes you find OGs. And I saw this out of the corner of my eye, and he had it listed as a 1964 pressing. Decided to look at it. To my pleasant surprise, it was not a 64 pressing, and the condition is not what he had it listed as. This is Impulse A7, Bart Blakey and his Jazz Messengers on Impulse. This is an original stereo press, beautiful condition. But to get back to the story, he had listed this as a 64 pressing. This is in fact a 1961 very first stereo press. And how you can tell is the label itself, and I don't know how well it's going to pick up. Instead of ABC Paramount, it says AM Par. With the very first Impulse releases, that's how you identify first press. Around, I think, 63, I think, is when they went to ABC Paramount. But, you know, it ended up being a first press, and he had it listed as VG. This is closer to excellent. On a bad day, it's a strong VG+, but I've played it multiple times since I got home. It plays excellent in air mint. Sounds absolutely amazing. And he openly told me he must have been smoking something when he graded this album. So, again, got it at an amazing price. Not an easy album to find, and it's even harder to find as clean as this. So, again, this is the find of the trip for me. This is actually the most recent acquisition. I found this through a seller on eBay. Great guy. His prices are very fair. First pressings of this are very difficult to find, and they're almost impossible to find clean. So second press is going to be your best, honestly, unless you really look into something special. This is Prestige 7247. This is Mating Call with John Dameron, or Tad Dameron and John Coltrane. Second press, Bergenfield, New Jersey, Fireworks Prestige label. Beautiful condition. I mean, look at the the reflection off that wax. RVG stamped the whole deal. Played this when I got it, and it plays really nice. It's a quieter album, so any noise you're going to hear pretty prominently. But again, it's beautiful condition, and this is a very welcome addition to my collection because I don't think I'm ever going to find it first press, but I guess never say never. But again, very happy to have this, and welcome addition to the collection. And to end the video, hard to believe this is already 30 minutes. This was actually one that was a #1 non-jazz girl for me for 2023. They recently reissued it as a box set with 4 different discs, and I picked this up from Noble when I was in Matthew, excuse me, and brought it home with me, not thinking I would find an original because originals tend to be about $400. The album was released in 2003, like I said. Vinyl around that time was not exactly easy to come by. It didn't sell a lot, and so original pressings tend to be very expensive. But I thought, this box set would do me all right for the time being. And this is Linkin Park Meteor 2.0. This is the box set. The first disc is the album remastered. 2 and 3 are the rarities. 4 is live rarities from 2003-2004. Sounds great, looks great. They did a really good job on it. And this would have held me, but something happened a few weeks later. Was browsing eBay, and I actually had a few originals of this list of Meteor listed in my save list on eBay. Again, most of them were very expensive. Well, a seller out of, I believe it was California, had one listed forever, and he marked it down to $200, which is a great deal. I reached out, asked him some questions. He was very upfront. He said basically it was a store copy. They played it a couple times and it just sat. Fair enough, they deal with a lot of high-end vinyl, retro t-shirts, art, stuff like that. So, and their feedback was solid. So, made some moves, sold some stuff out of my comic collection, and I can thank Joe at 360 Comics. Follow him on Instagram and YouTube. He's a great guy. But he made it happen. And I got this in the mail, and it plays beautifully, and it looks amazing. This is Linkin Park Meteor. This is a first U.S. press. When they said they played this a few times, they weren't kidding. The vinyl is almost flawless, and you hear no crackling whatsoever. Very difficult album to find an OG of, and very expensive. And again, it was my #1 non-jazz girl for 2023, so I'm very happy to have this. And I'm not going to get rid of the box set either. This album means a lot to me because it came out during my senior year of high school. Got to see them a few times in concert during that time frame. I actually met Chester at one of the shows. Very good to his fans. Unfortunately, he lost his battle with depression. Which, not to go off on a tangent, just wanted to say, if you're dealing with problems, reach out to somebody. There's always somebody there to help you. Suicide's not the answer. But very happy to have this, and his music will live on, and it is living on. And new generations are discovering their music, just like I did. And again, I'm just very, very happy to have this, and it's another one that won't be leaving my collection. But that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed going on this little journey with me. This is my update for almost midway through the year. There will be more, and I hope you guys stick around. But it's been a pleasure as always. If you like what you see, please click like and subscribe. It's been a pleasure as always, and we will talk again soon. You guys